Executive producer, Heather Kadin. Executive producer, Bryan Fuller.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Bryan. I'd also like to bring out William Shatner. Ladies and gentlemen, Jeri Ryan. Scott Bakula. My favorite android, Mr. Brent Spiner. And last but certainly not least, the man who's been on more episodes of Star Trek than anybody else, Michael Dorn.
Thank you all for coming to the Star Trek press conference. Round of applause for this fantastic cast of characters. Should we open up
We have
questions?
microphones, if you guys need a microphone right there, just raise your hand, yeah.
Our question is for you, Bryan Fuller. How are you? It's great to see this great panel of so many friends that I've known for my whole life here. But this was a big deal. This panel, we finally got our first look at the new Star Trek show, Star Trek Discovery, which is very exciting. And my question, Bryan, and for Ryan, is how much was the design of the Discovery influenced by early drawings for the movie Enterprise back in the day?
To a point that we can't legally comment on it until we figure out some things.
Hi, we're from Script Screen, UC Santa Barbara. This question is for Brent Spiner and Michael Dorn. We're doing an event with Michael Westmore next month. An event with Michael Westmore honoring his artwork. So what was the process of working with makeup with Michael Westmore for both the films?
It was the most constant thing about doing the show. Every morning at 5:45, I would come to the makeup trailer and meet Michael Westmore, who is an absolute genius and one of the greatest guys. And he set a tone in that you started the day with that was so peaceful and calm, and I loved it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he was one of the things that I remember is that he did the makeup for the first Rocky movie, and that's where I made a little bit part in the thing. And but you just got a sense of the history of the Westmores when you're working with him. Like, there's nothing you can do to top what he's seen. So you just kind of sit there and enjoy it, you know. And he created my makeup, but then he handed it off to a couple of others, wonderful makeup artists that have gone and done great things themselves. And he comes straight from Brent. So it was, but like Brent said, you know, mine was 4:30 in the morning the first time, and it was insane. But he helped you get through it because he kind of looked at you like, you know, come on, whatever, you know. So, my parents did Frankenstein or Boris Karloff, had to go home in his makeup, so no.
Hi, I was handing the mic, but it's
Somebody stand up and talk. We can hear you.
Like, talk loud.
all right.
We'll repeat it.
Adam Jeri with BuzzFeed News. Questions for Bryan and for Rod. My Twitter feed is blowing up with this question from Trek fans. Is your new show in the Prime or the Kelvin timeline? And when in that timeline, does it take place?
It is in the Bryan timeline, and I don't think we're supposed to say yet because there's so many new things about this series that we're trying to step out the information that we give because there's a lot of new exciting things that we're doing with this show, and we want to not saturate you. We want to tease you. That's the first tease, is the title and the show.
Michael Adada from the Sydney Morning Herald. A question for Bryan specifically. Where do you find the tone for your new Star Trek, but for all of you, for the shows that you were connected to collectively or individually, what is the essential quality that they have individually or collectively that kind of make them unique?
Could you raise your hand, whoever asked that question, so I can look at you? Oh, okay, thank you. I am very fortunate to have fantastic partners and a fantastic team on Star Trek. The show is being co-showrun by Gretchen Berg and Aaron Harvard, who I worked with on Pushing Daisies and Wonderfalls, and we have a long, wonderful relationship together, and I couldn't do it without them, absolutely, honestly. And we have a wonderful writing staff that includes Nicholas Meyer, and what a treat to be working with that man who Mr. Shatner worked with, and is responsible for great Star Trek storytelling with 2 and 4 and 6. And Jesse Alexander I worked with on Heroes and Hannibal, so I'm very well supported by fantastic people.
Jason Stewart, Dark Media Online. First for Bill, you kind of see this whole phenomenon grow.
What?
I just had a question about the phenomenon of Star Trek, your role in it. Sorry, I don't mean to be overfamiliar with you. I just feel that calling you Bill just feels natural. Just curious about your whole overseeing of this. It's been 50 years of this phenomenon of Star Trek. Your role in it, your nurturing of it, your taking place in it. What's the one thing that you would want fans to know about what the experience has been like being James T. Kirk for so many years?
I usually treat those things like with humor and slough it off because it's such a remarkable thing to be connected with. But in this instance, so many of you and the advent of the new series, let me take it more seriously. I'm doing a show I'm doing a show called The Truth is in the Stars, and what I'm doing is I'm interviewing a lot of interesting, some of the cases that don't know people. I'm culminating with Stephen Hawking. So I'm getting to meet some of the most remarkable people that are alive today that are guiding our lives in a way with information and discovery, and then it trickles down to us ordinary people. But there are things afoot that are affecting our lives completely. And the line of this show is how did Star Trek affect you? And then amplify it. But what did Star Trek do to you when you were 50 years younger? How did it affect you? And all these people were affected by Star Trek, important people. It's a television series, and we take it, we shouldn't be taking it too seriously. It's a lot of fiction, but at the same time, science fiction is mythology. And it tries to tackle those things that we can't explain.
The Greeks picked up these large bones and thought of them as giants. We now know that they were dinosaur bones. But they said, this has to be a race of giants. And they invented a whole mythology about the giants and the gods and the wars. We've invented through science fiction a mythology. And Star Trek is a huge part of that. So many great science fiction writers had ideas for Star Trek if they didn't write exactly for Star Trek. So in this 50 years, this mere television show in various iterations have expanded to affect a great deal of our culture, far beyond anything we know. I mean, I wrote a book called I'm Working on That, based on Stephen Hawking's statement when he walked into the set of Star Trek and saw these cheesy boards painted to look like what's the stuff we use for energy? Dilithium crystal. Dilithium crystal. It's a device that's how we were able to go so fast to cover the vast distances of space. Yet, Stephen Hawking said, I'm working on that, and I wrote a book on it. I'm working on it. I mean, it's just, it goes out in waves, and it seems somewhat innocuous, it's just another television show. But in this case, this phenomenon that has lasted 50 years, 50 years we're talking about another thing that's coming this way, and the people whose lives were affected, not just the people connected with the show, but the legions of people that have watched the show. I mentioned in the panel that I did a documentary called The Captains. I started with The Captains, and I thought, God, I gotta go to all these places and find these actors. It's going to cost more on airplanes than I've got in the budget to make the film. So I cold called Bombardier airplanes, Canadian airplane manufacturer. Can I speak to the CEO? CEO, can I speak to him, please? Who's calling? Shatner? Oh, Shatner's calling. He comes on. I said to Shatner, oh, Shatner, I got this problem. I've got $250,000 worth of flight, and I need an airplane. He says, I'll give it to you. You'll give it to me. The airplane ultimately calls me. I land on the tarmac in Toronto, and this guy comes out, head of Bombardier. So, oh, thank you. I became an aeronautical engineer because of Star Trek. And now I'm head of Bombardier. I'm landing in this airplane. That kind of thing. Out of a mere television show. That's what the meaning of Star Trek really is. Well said, sir.
Hi, Kayla Yakovina, TrekMovie.com. My question is for Heather. I'm wondering, as one of just 2 women that's been announced so far working on Star Trek Discovery, do you feel a sort of responsibility to the fans to make sure that women are represented both on the screen and behind the scenes?
Definitely. There's actually 3 of us, just to clarify, because Kirsten Beyer, Bryan.
I'll take that honorary.
But yes, I've been really fortunate to work on a lot of genre things, and I think it's important and with such a legacy as Star Trek. And I think what I've found when I've done Comic-Con panels, I remember the first one I was on was for Sleepy Hollow, and to see so many female fans looking at me and feeling like, wow, it's one thing, it's amazing to be a female actress in this genre, but to be a female behind the scenes in this genre. And that really stuck with me, and a lot of women had come up to me at that time, and I take it really seriously. And fortunately, so does Bryan, and a lot of the way he approaches story. You could hear him, by the way, if you were fortunate to hear the panel, approaches all of his storytelling prior to Trek. I think it was probably all inspired by your fandom of Star Trek and how it means, what it means to include everybody. But yes, I think as a female, you'll see when you started to hear more about the series, that's a big part of it.
Hello, Melissa Molina, Showbiz Junkies. This question is for all of you. So, what has surprised you the most about Star Trek's evolution and influence in our culture?
Well, I do have to say, when I look at Star Trek, I'm very myopic. I always look for messages. The science fiction is great, and I do love that, but I do love how it's inspired so many people. And for me, being sort of late into Star Trek, because I didn't really appreciate it as a young kid, the amount of people who will come up to me and share stories about how Star Trek inspired them, similar to what Bill said, is just amazing that a TV show can do this. And 50 years later, I often thank the fans for keeping Star Trek on for 50 years, but I do have to say, I want to thank all of you for keeping Star Trek on for 50 years. You guys have really made it something special. So thank you.
For you, what was the question again?
Influence.
Oh, influence on Star Trek. The state of this country right now terrifies me and saddens me, and I feel like we need something like Star Trek to remind us that collectively as the human race we're going to get our shit together, and we're going to build a better future, and we have to start working much harder on that today.
For me, there was a story, I don't think the press was in on the panel, but there was a story that I believe you told about the hive in the original stage. There was a buzzing, and it turned out to be a live hive. You remember? Yeah. Live hive. And here's the influence of Star Trek. There was this live hive, and this insect stung, which began the line, to be or not to be. And that's the influence of Star Trek.
You constantly amaze me. Thrill me and amaze me. Bill said it the best of what I'm astounded by anything surviving on television in any form for 15 years. Yeah. Television has only been around for
51.
But no, I mean, in reality, it's 65 or whatever. It really is. And there shows a collectiveness of conscience that has spread around the planet. It's astounding. It's astounding.
Yeah. There is something about,
I'll see your answer, and I'll raise your
Now for our next guest. The influence of Star Trek, Star Trek is just the most amazing phenomenon. It is, I think, the great American epic. It is anything that has gone for 51 years, you have to take seriously. I know there are a lot of people who think Star Trek is practically a religion. There are other people who think it's absolutely silly. And it's somehow all of those things combined. And that's what makes it wonderful. And just the fact that Scott said it's lasted 50 years. Even if you think it's completely ridiculous, you have to kind of go, well, wait a minute, what is this that's gone for 51 years? I've got to at least check it out. There's something going on here. And it's affected a lot of people. We've all had people come to us and say, it's because of your show or because of you that I am now a doctor or a scientist or exactly. So there's something more going on there than meets the eye. There's a wonderful action-adventure show, but there's also something deeper and more profound than that.
I don't think it was a surprise to me because I wasn't a Star Trek fan when I signed up for the show, but I was certainly aware of it. And I was certainly aware of, maybe not to the extent of the impact, but I was And that's incredible how it inspires people. And I think, like you said, there is obviously something more to this than just a show about space and exploration and adventure. And I think, for me, when I explored what could possibly be this captivating for so many people, is it's so optimistic and hopeful. And we need that so desperately, as Bryan said, now more than ever, I think. And it's about embracing everyone. And I mean, my God, they had, this was 1960.
No, that's me.
This was not long
I can't remember
not
that
that
was
long after
incredible.
World War II, and they've got a Japanese character on the bridge. This was in the height of the Cold War, and they've got a Russian on the bridge. They've got the blacks and the whites and the first interracial kiss. And that was the whole message that Gene was putting out there, is inclusion and embracing everyone's differences. And we're all the same. And we've got to get back and realize that. It's scary now. Everybody is terrified of everyone else who's different, and it's so frightening.
I mean, it's very interesting. I always thought when these questions were asked that Star Trek, Gene's show and all that was great television, because in those days there was a lot of great television. I mean, a lot of the television that was kind of overlooked were the science fiction shows, and the science fiction shows in those days were doing really stuff that was groundbreaking because they could, because it was science fiction. And out of that group of shows, I think you can see that Star Trek was definitely leading the way. I mean, it really had this new voice that I think that we all were feeling in the 60s, which was, hey, wait a minute, it doesn't have to be the way it was before. It doesn't have to be the way it was for my parents. This is something new. It speaks to me. But, these days I couldn't tell you why it's lasted this long. I mean, it's one of those amazing things. I mean, we did our 25th anniversary when we started, and you couldn't imagine the huge amount of crowds that were out there for just for our show. And that was amazing to me that it has that influence. But, I mean, if I had to pinpoint something, I would have to say that for every person that watches Star Trek that's a big fan of the show, they have a different reason for loving it as much as they do. And it's a myriad of answers. I mean, it could be a person feels included, a person feels left out, a person feels hope for the future, a person feels science. I mean, whatever it is, the number of reasons is a myriad of reasons. There just isn't any one particular reason. So, I mean, my original thought of that, it was really great television when he started. I mean, he knew how to do that. So, but the influence is just, it's mind-boggling. Still goes on.
Over here, Scott Number with People Magazine. Or pretty accurate in the comments. You've had some great opportunities to, as a result of your relationship with Star Trek, to meet people who actually went to space. Some of the great thinkers of the world, innovators, world leaders. Tell me how Star Trek and those opportunities has enriched your life, the get back that you've got from your participation in Star Trek.
I mean, I can see right away because I was a big airplane buff when I was growing up. And I love airplanes, and I love the test pilots. And I built with cereal boxes, the box tops in those days. I built Friendship 7, John Glenn's capsule, and it was a horrible model that I made. You couldn't make it. But those are the guys that I had a chance to meet that really kind of fueled my youth. And that was amazing because, I'm talking about, you went to the moon. You go, come on, And those are the guys that I just love.
I talked to a guy on the International Space Station, Nashville. He set up DVDs of our show. He was watching it in space. And then he talked until Kirk moved enough so that we could talk. He went over, we talked about the suit. He kept circling the planet. And that was pretty cool. Yeah, I was like, how's it going? finding all of that, it was completely surreal, but one of the, you know, and then we met a lot of the astronauts would come and visit and stuff, but to actually speak to somebody what he was doing it up there was just something you wouldn't expect ever to get to do in your life.
For me, I love talking to people and exploring the character, the way in which the person lived and how they lived, and what brought them to this point. So, and I've done shows in that way, sort of conversation. And this latest one that I'm doing, I've just come back from Vancouver yesterday, this morning actually, I did that this morning, talking to the great geneticist and ecologist, Dr. David Suzuki. I talked about this in the panel, but it's meeting people like Dr. Suzuki, who was influenced by Star Trek, going on from Dr. Suzuki and an astronaut, Chris Hadfield, who I've just interviewed a couple of days ago, at JPL. All of JPL is just like subscribes to Star Trek. That's NASA. I'm doing a show for NASA. All of NASA is enamored of Star Trek. So these people, a doctor, I went going to a doctor. So watching Star Trek from a doctor because you know, spread your legs. I mean, it was good day to look at the captain here. In every walk of life, from the baker to Stephen Hawking.
Get people at JPL saying built a robot and sent a robot to Mars, and they're communicating with it. It's just amazing. It's amazing to get to the doors that this is open for us to get to people who are actually doing what we pretended to be doing on the show.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to meet Dr. Hawking because he did an episode of the show.
He met you too?
Yeah, very I know Bob, I'm not close to him. And we met all the Mercury astronauts. They were all still with us.
Could you gather them together?
We
the
did.
Mercury astronauts?
They were gathered
Or
together.
is it like gathering Mercury? There's a joke or something.
That's all that we were doing. But we met all of the Mercury astronauts at the 30th anniversary of Alan Shepard's first flight. It was overwhelming, and at that event was also the Bob Hope and Walter Cronkite, and we were there as pretend heroes, you know. And we met Prince Charles of England, and it's just been. But for me, the most rewarding experience has been meeting all of these people, all of the family of Star Trek that have been in all of these episodes and films, and the great creative people that I've got to rub shoulders with. It's been amazing. It's a huge family at this point.
We have time for one more question.
Hi, Lupe from Cinnamon over here. Mr. Shatner, I want to know, Kirk
I'm here for you.
Kirk and Spock's relationship is such a special one. I guess you guys were the first bromance, I would call it. So what was it like when you first met Leonard Nimoy? Did you know, did the sparks fly in the beginning?
Romance.
With Leonard?
Yeah.
Yes. And I've written a book about it called Leonard. It's up there now, delineating a friendship that was over 50 years, and how close and how extraordinarily similar backgrounds and careers and our families and the deaths in the family, and the divorces in the families, and the way the children are growing up, and the waves of experience that sweep over everybody's life, how similar they were between Leonard and myself. And because families of actors who work on a show, when the show is over, disperse, I love you forever, I'll call you tomorrow. Nah, I can't call you tomorrow, I got an appointment, I'll call you the day. And it goes, and you never see each other again. You genuinely love that person. You never see them because things are, another show, another thing, they go away. But with Leonard, I was thrown into his company because of appearances like this, and press, and movies. And so we had a lot to do with each other, and it was the brother I never had, as we used to say to each other. He had a brother, I didn't have one. He was my brother.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.